Good morning. Happy Sunday, y'all. It is your favorite activist from Orange County, California, to talk about what happened on the No King's Day protest. First of all, let me tell you what happened to me locally as a known activist in this community. The MAGA Republicans in this area decided to schedule a community garage sale yesterday. Not a problem, whatever. They want to distract themselves, not a problem, right? But I also received a notice on Friday that I had to remove everything from my balconies because they're going to be doing some sort of retrofit repairs at some point in the future. Won't give me a date, won't tell me when this is going to happen. So, my disabled mom and my disabled self pulled everything off of the balconies yesterday, except for a few items that are fairly light that I can handle today, and exhausted ourselves. We ate some of our boysenberry pie that I picked up at Knott's on Friday, and did the best with what we had. But in the meantime, these are the type of disruptor activities that were going on. So um, basically, they purposely scheduled that so that there would be no parking. First of all, there was people parking illegally throughout my community, people taking up all the spots. So my disabled mom, who needs a handicap spot, had difficulty finding one to come over and help me. And we got almost everything off. Everything that's left is fairly light. I can handle it today. But, God, what a mess, you guys. But let's see what. Let me preempt this by saying that Republicans come to Orange County for their big donos. Okay, you guys? Newport Beach, Laguna Niguel, that's where they make their biggest money. All right, let's go.
California Governor Gavin Newsom put the dagger into Donald Trump, who was freaking out all last night about the success of the No Kings protest, the largest mass protest in the history of the United States. I'll talk about what Donald Trump was rage posting, but first, what Governor Newsom was saying. California Governor Gavin Newsom, after the successful protest, said the following: "Today, Californians join millions nationwide to say it loud and clear: no to authoritarianism, no to assaulting our democracy, no to censorship and fear, no to hate and division, no to corruption and cruelty, no to kings."
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're not looking for a dictator to lead America. You know, I might not disagree. I may disagree with the president's views, who is in charge in the moment. But we have never seen anything like this before, where somebody who is acting like the supreme authority and looks up to Kim Jong Un and Vladimir Putin as his examples of how to lead a country. Never in my life have I ever seen this. And targeting people. I'm retired from politics, you guys. Like, I literally might still contact people once in a while and give them some ideas, but I'm out of it for the most part. And I still get harassed in my home. And what he is forgetting is that California is the fourth largest economy in the world. And the Russians have, for a very long time now, tried to convince us to vote ourselves out of the Union and become an independent state. an independent nation. Now, I've been against that because I know it's a Russian plan, it's a bad idea, it's terrible, right? It would destroy both of us, I think. Not only California, but also the country at large, because we're a donor state as well. We pay more in taxes than we get back in services, period.
To a government by and for the people. How did Donald Trump respond to that? By posting videos and AI images of himself as a fighter pilot defecating, relieving himself on the protesters. That's right, the president of the United States posting videos of himself like shitting on human beings. That's what he finds funny in Manhattan.
This is also another reason why I've been covering the Locale Network, because I have a lot of experience with employment law. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an attorney, but I was a proposal writer who had to deal with the highest levels of every organization that I ever worked with to get them to answer questions, specific questions from the companies that were seeking services and asking for bids. So I have a fairly high level knowledge of all of these topics, despite the fact that I wasn't an HR rep, I wasn't in the legal department or anything like that. But I mean, I remember sitting when I worked for a company that made multifunction devices, copiers, scanners, faxes, right? One of the clients that was seeking our services wanted to know if we could copy money, because it's illegal to do that. I'm just telling you straight up, it's illegal to do that. And I remember our legal team actually going through and seeing which of our products actually were capable of doing that, and leaving copies of it on my desk. And I said, no, I'm not touching that. I'm not getting my fingerprints on it. You take that off. Goodbye. I don't want to see it.
What Donald Trump was posting. Back to California Governor Gavin Newsom. He says the following about Caroline Leavitt, about the Trump regime, about these despicable, vile humans. Governor Newsom says the following: spreading hatred is the only thing the Trump administration seems to be able to accomplish. The government is shut down. Millions of Americans are about to lose their health care. Our troops are not going to be paid, and they are busy trashing Democrats on TV. It's pathetic and it's un-American. And here's the thing, I like a good joke. I have a sense of humor. I like to believe. I just don't find it funny when the United States government is giving $40 billion to bail out Argentina while ripping away the health care of 20 million Americans, that the president of the United States is posting videos of himself taking shits on protesters. I don't find that.
Literally taking shits on protesters. We have never had a more crass, obscene person doing what he's doing in the White House. It's absolutely disgusting. It's the decline of America. We are not number one anymore. I don't know who is number one, but it's not going to be us. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my lifetime that has happened to America. And yet Trump keeps coming out here because he knows he can get Newport Beach donors and Laguna Niguel donors.
Funny. I don't. I mean, there's a time and place for things that it could be humorous, but that's not the way the president of the United States is supposed to behave. It's not normal behavior, and we should never normalize it. Governor Newsom then posts the following as well. J.D. Vance couldn't deliver Indiana for Trump. Trump is now personally begging state legislators to rig the elections. He's so desperate he conducted an anonymous poll at the end of a call. Pathetic. The people of Indiana don't want their elections rigged. Give up. And Governor Newsom posted the following article. Trump pushes Indiana lawmakers to redraw state maps. A call Friday morning by the president to Republican state senators is part of an escalating pressure campaign by the White House as it gets more and more desperate. Governor Newsom then had this message. We'll throw the B-roll up, folks, of what's going on here for J.D. Vance, who arrived in California to do that Kim Jong-un-like stunt right by Camp Pendleton in Southern California, where they had to shut down the I-5, as we reported they were going to do earlier this week, because the Trump regime was shooting live munitions from howitzers over the...
Just so you guys know, okay, I'm not far from Camp Pendleton. And it is a pretty open space of highway in that section, but there are only about 2 freeways that you can take going north and south into the San Diego area, and that is also where they put the checkpoint for entering the state. It's at the top end of San Diego, which kind of doesn't make sense to me at all, because they're checking right before they get into Orange County, rather than, I don't know, maybe this is a double check over the border with Mexico. I don't know, but it is a it clogs traffic already on these 2 north and south highways. There's also one that comes in east-west that also has something like this. Now, primarily, these were set up originally to prevent people from bringing produce into the state, because you may or may not remember that we had an incident in the 80s with fruit flies, which are a super invasive insect that can destroy crops. And I think I was in the 7th grade when they were actually dumping poison over our homes in Los Angeles. I lived in LA at the time. To eradicate the 4 fruit flies that they found up there. So that was what it was. It wasn't necessarily an immigration checkpoint, but it seems like they've repurposed these stop zones as immigration checkpoints, despite the fact that they're probably an hour and a half away from the Mexican border. But it's just above Camp Pendleton before you get into Orange County. Camp Pendleton is fairly close to me, and that area is open space where they have set up like they're going to go into desert warfare, and they do a lot of training exercises, like coming in from the beach, doing like beach stuff, going in through shallow canyons. They have some shallow canyons in there. They have the hills. You can see all this as you're driving by.
Highway over the cars into Camp Pendleton. Governor Newsom posted this video of a couch. This is J.D. Vance's type right here. Couches that look like this. This is how J.D. likes them.
What the hell
J.D.,
is that?
welcome to California. We made sure you feel right at home, and you see that couch. J.D. Vance is into that. Governor Newsom then posts the following from San Francisco's No Kings protest. This is at the beach right there, and you'll see tens of thousands of people. They all form the shape of No Kings, and then it says yes on 50 prop.
Just to be clear, there's no way they would actually have been able to protest on the property of Camp Pendleton. So the closest they would have gotten is like San Onofre, where the big boobs come up. They have a nuclear power plant that's on the coast, right? And it has two big cylinders that shoot up like boobs. And they have a nuclear waste problem on the beach. And it's been debated by several Congress people in the area of how they're going to handle it, how they're going to remove the waste, what happens if we have a tsunami hit. You know, that's a whole other can of worms. But that is the closest I think they could actually get to where this happened, is the San Onofre beach, which has no lifeguards. It has super huge waves. The surfers love it. Jackson Hinkle did a photo shoot with Tulsi Gabbard surfing that location.
50, which is the proposition coming up in this November's election.
You guys, how cute. Comfort just...
Point being is that when we look at the type of content that's provided on YouTube today, whether they are intelligent people or stupid people, we have to be very careful about what sort of messaging they're putting forth in regards to American politics, because clearly they're not taking this very serious. And especially the LCU network has been pushing the limits on themes of what is it called, the getting canceled or something like that. The only reason you're going to get canceled is because you're producing content that people don't want to watch, and so they don't watch it. And just by saying I'm canceled, I've been canceled, doesn't mean that you're entitled to get your audience back, right? So if you keep producing content that's super offensive and not timely in the moment, when you've got this shit going on, you're probably not going to be successful.
The proposition coming up in this November's election to counteract the election rigging by Donald Trump in Texas. It's to allow the maps in California to change slightly and for a temporary period of time, I think it's through 2031, to eliminate certain Republican seats in response to Texas eliminating the Democratic seats. It's just Texas did this, so California has to respond appropriately, with force, with moral clarity, with moral authority, if you will. Governor Newsom then he posted the following video of himself right here talking about Donald Trump's behavior: grossly illegal, immoral, delusional. Trump's unhinged, listless, in decline cognitively and physically. I mean, you have the president of the United States posting videos of himself like feces on people, like throwing his feces on humans. I mean, like, the hell is going? Yeah, you're right.
And let's not forget the clicker, the video that he did where he basically said that he was going to be president for the rest of his life. He kept putting wins every 4 years for him. There's a reason that we have term limits. It's so that we don't have kings. You know? And that, I believe, was put in place after Franklin Roosevelt held 4 terms, who, by the way, was a Democrat, right? So, I think we learned our lesson, or maybe not, because they've destroyed education. by allowing it to, in many cases, be privatized and inaccessible. So there's a lot more cases of people being homeschooled by parents who are not qualified as teachers.
Governor Newsom. Yes, Donald Trump is unhinged, and he's a sick, vile human being, like a disgusting human, and he surrounds himself with freaking disgusting people. Like there's no way around it. These are freaking grotesque humans. But anyway, here, play this clip of Governor Newsom.
His latest assertion that he was going to come to San Francisco, on what basis? He didn't even claim. There's no pretext anymore. Let's disabuse ourselves that there has to be a pretext with Donald Trump, that there's anything that would justify that. There's no existing protest at a federal building. There's no operation that's being impeded. I guess it's just a training ground for the President of the United States. It is grossly illegal. It's immoral. It's rather delusional. And increasingly, this president appears unhinged, unmoored by reality and facts. Seems listless.
Oh yeah, he definitely appears to be like going through dementia, but obviously he has a team of people willing to push this forward. Do you believe that President Trump has the ability to create the graphics and advertising that he does? Do you believe that he writes every message? Or does he have a media team helping him craft his messaging? Because I don't think he's doing this all by himself, you guys. I think he has a team of people who are just as fucked up as he is.
He seems, dare I say, in decline, cognitively, and, dare I say, forgive me, perhaps unfair, physically. And these are just rantings of someone that needs an intervention, needs some help, needs to be stabilized.
And then Governor Newsom mocks Joe Rogan for being too afraid to allow Newsom to come on the Rogan show. Rogan's afraid of Newsom, afraid to debate Newsom. And then Governor Newsom goes, "Mock, mock, Joe."
You know, and that's so odd, too, because Joe Rogan actually had Bernie Sanders on his show and found out that he agreed with a lot of his policies.
Joe Rogan, mock, mock, Joe Rogan. Enjoy that.
Life's been a little crazy lately. I mean, we could all agree on EIDAS to get 30% off your first order.
Governor Newsom, earlier in the day yesterday, after it was determined that the Trump regime lied. Remember, Midas Touch is involved in this story, right? We were the first to report. Our sourcing said that the Trump regime was going to launch missiles from the Pacific Ocean over the I-5 highway as a show of force while cars were driving into Camp Pendleton.
And like I said, you know, when my parents divorced, we moved to South Orange County in somewhere around 1980. Never in my lifetime have I ever seen any munitions fired over the 5 freeway. Not once. Never. I've never even seen any of the military training that goes on. And I even was for half a year dating a dude in San Diego where I had to go through this long stretch of road by the Camp Pendleton and had to go through the checkpoint to make sure I didn't have any fruit or vegetables in my car. You know, like I literally have lived this, you guys. I can't.
Which would be very dangerous. The Trump regime denied it. We got like all these fact checks against us, like Snopes and all these, like, Midas Touch, Rage Bait, oh, they're wrong. And then I got comments from people like, oh, Midas Touch, you disappointed me. Why would you report that? Trump and the Marines say. I'm like, guys, Trump and the Marines say? Trump lies about everything. Why is Snopes taking what Trump and
who is the Marines? It's going to be somebody that he appointed to the head of that organization, right? Like he's going to be largely heavily involved with who is leading our armed forces, quite frankly.
The Marines say over what Midas Touch says based on our sourcing. So I had to deal with, I mean, not like I had to deal with it, whatever. It is what it is. I'm a big boy. I could handle it. But for like 2 days, people were like, oh, Midas Touch, you're lying. And then it turned out our reporting was absolutely true. And the Trump regime was just lying. Shocker. And they launched the missiles over the I-5. Like, that's what their plans to do. So the I-5 had to be shut down. Governor Newsom goes, this is a profoundly absurd show of force that could put Californians directly in harm's way. Flying live rounds over a busy highway without coordination between state, federal, and local partners isn't just wrong, it's dangerous. The New York Times article, which doesn't credit Midas Touch, says military plans to fire artillery over California freeway on Saturday. Governor Newsom then posts, using our military to intimidate people you disagree with politically doesn't make you look strong. It makes you look weak. It's reckless, it's disrespectful, and yet another action beneath the office of the presidency. And for those,
just to tell you like how petty these people are, during 2020 I took a job phone banking for Josh Newman, and I would often sit on my balcony and do it. In the meantime, okay, so between the holidays of like the beginning of October through the end of like past New Year's, people decorate, right? They decorate for Halloween, they decorate for Christmas, they, put, and I have been one of these people who regularly decorates my condo. They scheduled a repaint of the building that they said they were going to start on the day before Thanksgiving. They did nothing on the day before Thanksgiving. And obviously they're not going to work on a holiday. They're not going to work over the weekends, right? And then the first go around, they fucked the whole thing up. It was splotchy. It was mismatched. They even they painted a cord that goes up to my security camera, and they had to redo the entire project, right? So in the meantime, I flew to Georgia. I walked blocks. I helped get Warnock and Ossoff into the Senate seats. And I flew back on Jan 6 during the insurrection. We didn't know anything was going on the flight because basically they cut all internet access. They made it impossible for you to use the internet access, and they limited the movie selections, and we didn't know why. We figured it was, okay, whatever, they're having technology problems, whatever. And as soon as we landed at John Wayne in the Newport Beach area, we had access to all this stuff again. There were 3 people that ran to the front of the plane that were obviously MAGA supporters and were totally freaking out over the situation. They did not wait for us to actually get to the ramp where we would unload. They ran to the front of the plane, which is scary as fuck after 9/11, you guys, and just wanted to be the first people out, right? That's when I started getting text messages from fellow advocates, fellow activists who said, but don't you know what happened? No, I was in the air. I had no idea this happened. I can't. And they're still trying to blow it off like, oh, well, they were just wandering around looking at the building. Oh, I'm sorry. I must have mistaken the footage of them smashing windows and coming in with guns. My apologies. Like, what?
who were like, but Midas Touch, this was regularly scheduled. The military always fires howitzers and missiles over highways. This was regular. First off,
No.
the Marines' anniversary was not yesterday, okay? It's like November 10th. This event was not planned significantly in advance. The first time it was ever even mentioned was on Friday, okay? And even as Grok, which is used by the Pentagon as a Pentagon-approved AI tool, says no. Firing artillery over the I-5 isn't routine for Camp Pendleton's standard training ranges, which are typically contained within base boundaries away from public highways. Governor Newsom says earlier this week, the White House denied the freeway near Camp Pendleton would need to be closed due to live munitions being fired over the freeway. But
Yeah, that's the thing, is that from what I've observed over my lifetime, that particular section by the 5 freeway is used more for teaching people how to storm the beach, teaching people how to drive in that kind of terrain, for desert warfare. But I never heard any artillery going off, not once, in all the times I've driven down there.
today, despite the White House claims and lack of transparency, California traffic and public safety experts have recommended temporarily closing the freeway to best protect the public. And now the White House is being fact-checked by Grok, the latest Pentagon AI tool. Then I know people were like, but
This week,
but Newsom had to shut down the I-5, not Trump. If you're shooting missiles over the highway, you probably need to shut the highway down, right? So we reported what was going down yesterday, and then Governor Newsom. This was the response by Trump's team. Newsom is lying. He closed the highway. Not only did nobody at the White House.
Newsom. Trump is like a freeze frame of a junior high kid whose best ability is to just make up names for people. This is not like a fully functional grown man. I'm just gonna say it. And in my humble opinion, what he's doing to us here in California, to Chicago, and to other Oregon, is plain and simple homeland terrorism. That is my opinion.
Or the Marines asked him to do so. The Marines repeatedly said there are no public safety concerns with today's exercise. So what, Snopes, you want to just take what Rapid Response 47 says, Newsom, you want to use that as your authoritative source? It's very unfortunate when you focus on those things versus like Donald Trump lying about $20 trillion being brought in as the biggest Ponzi scheme in the history of the United States and the world is being perpetrated. You're like, well, Rapid Response 47 says Newsom is a liar. So we're going to just print what Trump says and say that's one side. Just use common sense, please. This is a regime that is invading blue states, okay, and blue cities. This is a regime that's disappearing people to concentration camps, okay? This is a regime who's led by an individual who's posting photographs of himself like having diarrhea on humans, okay, like on protesters, okay? Like, could we reflect on who the hell we're...
Oh, and this is a person who directly descends from a Nazi supporter. Let's be real, you guys.
Freaking dealing with here before you cite them as like they lie about everything, okay? They're full of shit. Governor Newsom's office says the CHP and highway safety experts are saying what any person with common sense knows. It is not safe for people to drive on a major freeway at high speeds directly under live munitions. White House not communicating, endangering the public, and then trying to blame the governor for doing the right thing, keeping people out of harm's way. Yet another day living in Trump's authoritarian America. Governor Newsom says, well done, San Diego, in response to their police chief, saying that out of the 25,000 plus protesters who showed up, all peaceful, Thanks for being peaceful. Once again, no one was arrested. Thank you for keeping it class.
The only way that that protest happened in San Diego is if it actually, well, I don't know if San Onofre, I think San Onofre is still part of Orange County, but maybe it's San Diego. But the only other area that they could have possibly done that at would have been the next city, which is quite far away. It's the seaside city where all the Marines live. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm spacing.
San Diego. Governor Newsom writes, civil rights and freedom, pluralism, and nonviolent protest, the values
Oceanside. It's called Oceanside.
Americans cherish are under assault by Donald Trump. This is the United States of America, and California will keep peacefully pushing back against the Trump administration's authoritarian takeover. Governor Newsom's wife, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, writes, there are those who want this day to turn violent. Please, California, don't give them what they want. Stand shoulder to shoulder and lead with peace. Fear is their language and control is their goal, but love of truth, of freedom, and of one another will always speak louder. Governor Newsom writes, as Californians take to the streets today to stand up against Trump's authoritarian playbook, I urge everyone to stay safe and demonstrate peacefully. Don't give in to his provocations. Our strength is in our unity and our...
I bought these after hearing my name.
To his provocations, our strength is in our unity and our peace. And then Governor Newsom has this message to the military. California celebrates the history and achievements of our men and women in uniform, and this state's huge contributions to defend democracy. But the scaled up live munitions being fired over a major freeway is a public safety risk. Due to the extreme life safety risk and distraction to drivers, including sudden, unexpected, and loud explosions, a section of I-5 will have to be closed on October 18th. This decision comes at the recommendation of traffic safety experts at the California Highway Patrol. If they just think about if they didn't do it, I'll wear my lawyer cap for a second with liability. Okay, let's say the state is put on notice that this is going to take place. The state does not shut down I-5. While somebody's driving, live munitions are shot. Boom, it makes a loud noise. So a driver gets scared. They swerve. They hit and kill somebody. Okay, it's a tragic death that could be avoided. And it would create liability for the state because you knew and you could have shut down the highway. Now you've created a dangerous condition on your road, which is one of the things that it seemed the Trump regime wanted to do. So any public safety expert will say, if they're doing that, it's not just that a stray missile will hit the...
This is a game for Trump. It's a fucking game. He lives in an anime world. He loves his little cartoons. And this is a fucking game for him. Running the largest economy in the world is a goddamn game to this fool. Sorry.
Highway, it's that the sound, the distraction. If you're driving and a missile flies over your head, you may swerve. And what if dozens of people get killed on the highway? We've heard about, pileups where trucks hit this car and that car, and you didn't shut it down. Could you imagine the grief, right? That the governor and the highway patrol would get for not protecting the people. And Trump would probably be, oh, you should have shut it down. You should have turned on the faucet. It's all your fault, new scum. It's all, come on. You know exactly what they're going to do. In conclusion, Governor Newsom is leading by example. He's leading with moral clarity, with integrity, with authority, standing up to this Trump regime. And you see in contrast to the behavior of Donald Trump. But judge for yourself. Judge for yourself. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Well, thank you, Midas Touch, for putting that together as a very, very local resident to where he raises money, where he is terrorizing us through our own local military base. And you know, I appreciate Newsom's efforts, but I know his efforts are far more concentrated where he lives and where his dynasty is. As you all may know, he has a relation to Nancy Pelosi, so it's a little scary, but he is at least standing out as a leader. But I have been hearing from other activists that he's not necessarily the number one choice that we're going to run against Trump. So we'll see how this goes. I'll give you as much as I can, but I'm really not involved that much anymore. And I really wish my MAGA neighbors would leave me the fuck alone.